we're going to have some fun. So the first thing that I want to cover is addressing the big elephant in the room, because let's face it, I know that there's so many things right now that are going wrong with the advertising platform. And here's what's going to happen. And earlier this year, I actually created a video. I went live on my profile and I said there were going to be 2 shifts that we were going to need to make in our marketing that is going to make our business sustainable in 2021. And by all means, 2021 did not disappoint. Those 2 things happened, okay? And so the 2 shifts that I started helping a lot of you guys make, especially when I released the ecosystem here in the premium program, is that there were 2 things that we had to pivot with our marketing if we wanted to stay relevant. The first thing was learning how to market cookie lists, right? Whenever I worked in television, I didn't have the luxury of being able to laser target people to watch a certain commercial. I didn't have the luxury of being able to retarget people who watched a certain commercial a certain percentage of the time. Like, let's face it, the Facebook pixel and its tracking has made the marketing space so easy to get into. But with the iOS update and having come in, a lot of changes are making, and marketing is not so cut and dry anymore. Okay, it's getting a little bit harder. And then the second thing was being more omnipresent. And so those are the 2 principles that we are going to talk about throughout this entire next couple of weeks, is focusing on making sure that you guys are covered when it comes to having that whole cookieless ecosystem involved. And second of all, making sure that you guys are not just putting all of your eggs into one platform. And I'm going to show you guys how that's actually going to unfold. But there are certain expectations that I want to make sure that all of us have clarity on, okay? Over the next several weeks, Facebook advertising is going to get harder. We're going to see higher cost per CPMs, which means cost per 1,000 impressions. We are going to see our analytics kind of go into the tanker. So I want to make sure that you're prepared for that, because lead costs have gone up. But here's the magic of what we're going to learn over the next several weeks, is that the magic is no longer in the top of funnel strategy. It's going to be in the middle of funnel, which is where we are going to pretty much live throughout this entire space, because I want you guys to understand that it is no longer all about getting leads and making sales. The purpose is we need to be having more one-on-one conversations with our audience. And those marketers who are ignoring the fact that the ecosystem is changing, like the marketing ecosystem has changed so much, even just in the last 3 weeks, where I have had to restructure what I'm going to teach you guys today, like the overall strategy. I've had to rearrange that with so many of my agency clients. We're going to have to dig deeper when it comes to your offer. Here's the thing, guys. It is not going to be profitable anymore to just have an okay offer. Things have changed. We have to be super clear on our messaging. We have to be super clear on who is this for. And I'm going to challenge you guys, okay? You guys stick with me, and we are going to sustain our marketing over the next several weeks when a whole bunch of people are going to bail. I already see it. Like, all of the gurus are pivoting to YouTube advertising. They're pivoting to all of these different things because they are just here for the short term. These fly-by-night experts are going to leave the advertising space, leaving more opportunity for you and I. So if we can just pivot our marketing, just pivot just for a little bit and hold steady and have faith that what we're going to be doing is going to make us money later. Okay. Now, because think about this, like if we think back to marketing over the last 20 or 30 years, Nike didn't go into it and say, hey, we're going to run commercials for 2 weeks, and if we don't sell any shoes, we're going to pull our advertising, right? And so it's one of those things that we have to go back to the old school. The old school is going to become the new school. Mark my words. The old school of advertising is those that understand old school advertising are going to survive this, what's going on right now with the iOS update. And guys, the iOS update is just the beginning. I would not be surprised if the Pixel doesn't go away completely. So I want to make sure that all of you guys are prepared. You guys are my family. We're all going to stick together. We're going to help keep each other consistent, because over this hill that we're about to come, because guys, it's gonna get worse before it gets better, but if we can all bring each other to the other side of this, we're all going to reap the benefits of having an audience of people who are not only going to buy one thing from us, but they're going to become loyal, raving fans who will not only buy more things, but will tell other people about us. That is the kind of business I want to build. How about you guys? Is that the kind of business that you want to build? Not just something where we're selling to someone one time and then that's it, right? We want to build our audience. And the best way to do that, and I've been saying this a long time, is having conversations, right? So people who are not willing to have conversations, it's not going to be very sustainable, because now more than ever, we need to be in the trenches with our audience, talking to them. And it might be that, you know what, your webinar is going to work for 3 months and then it might stop working. And guess what? We're going to have to go back to our audience and we might have to hop on some one-on-one calls. And that's why I always tell people, and we'll talk a little bit about this a little later, I always recommend people, even if you have like a $197 a month product or a $400 product, I always recommend people get on the phone and sell it the first couple of times before just sending people from a webinar straight to a sales page, so that you could actually listen to what your audience actually wants, listen to their objections. Why are they not buying over the phone? Because guess what? If they don't buy over the phone, they're definitely not going to buy from a sales page. And so I always recommend people, before you sell a product straight to a sales page, you might want to get on the phone and have conversations so that you could bake all of those objections into that webinar, okay? So the webinar funnel ecosystem, okay? Super excited to be, let me actually blow myself up, spotlight for everyone. So this is what I am super excited about showing you guys today. So this is what I would call the client accelerator ecosystem, but this is a huge part of what I actually do for my clients. Now, at the beginning of this training, what did I tell you guys? That the middle of funnel was going to be the most important thing, right? How many of you guys here, let me know in the chat, have ran webinars and have gotten leads and you're like, oh, none of the leads are converting? I think a lot of you guys are going to realize that you don't have a Facebook ads problem. You have a conversion problem. And that's why I felt like this program, I couldn't move forward just teaching you guys how to do ads. I had to show you guys the whole picture, because I feel like so many people can get leads, but they don't know how to convert them. And so remember how we were talking at the beginning of this training about how the marketing, the scene in the marketing is changing, right? The iOS update has rolled out. We're seeing that tracking and all of that fun stuff is pretty much gone away, with the exception of a couple of things. Now, remember, the iOS update is only affecting the people who are outside of the Facebook platform, right? Remember, Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same company, so we could target people who are engaging on both the Facebook platform and the Instagram platform, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how this is going to work, okay? So we're going to learn how to send our ads to the webinar opt-in, okay? Now we know we're going to do a 5x3. If you guys are familiar, if you don't know what the 5x3 is, don't worry. We're going to learn it. But what I want to show you guys, the overview, is I want you guys to get excited about this, okay? Because there's a couple of things that are going to happen. Now, if we're talking about using the pixel and using things that might not necessarily involve the pixel, there are a couple of things that we could do here, okay? So the first action that people are going to do is they're going to opt in to your webinar. How many of you guys have a whole bunch of opt-ins for your webinar, but then nothing else ever happens? Those leads just kind of disappear, right? Big black hole. Big black hole. What this ecosystem is going to do is it's going to help plug those holes. And I'm going to help you guys build all of these pieces. Don't worry. You're going to see today why this is going to last until December. But by December, you guys are going to have everything, like all that I'm going to show you, all built out. So people opt in for a webinar, right? We want about 20% of the people who come from ads to opt in to this webinar. That's going to be our first goal, right? Is to get 20% of people to opt into this webinar. Now, how many of you guys have ever opted in for a webinar and you're like, I'm going to watch this later, and it just sits in your inbox and then gets buried and buried and buried and buried, okay? So our first goal is to get 500 leads into here, or nothing else is going to matter, okay? So that's why I always tell people that, hey, we need to get 500 leads into this. Until we get 500 leads, we can't really do much of this. But what we're gonna want to do is both utilize the pixel while we have it. We want to exploit the pixel right now as much as possible. But what we want to do is we want to use pixel data as much as we can right now to get people into other platform actions that are still going to be trackable. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is once we have 500 people, you guys are going to learn about the Fire for ad sequence. The Fire for ad sequence is going to be for people who opt into the webinar, but they haven't yet made it to our goal, right? If you have a webinar and you're trying to get people to an application to book a call, the Fire for sequence is going to carry people over into that application. Okay, so that's the first thing. My mentor always says, hit people in 3 different places and they're going to see you in one, right? So that's the first place. The second place, which I freaking love this strategy right here, okay? Instagram. I'm going to teach you guys a reverse organic strategy, because remember, Instagram is owned by Facebook. If people are opting in here, remember, there's a chance that if they hit the thank you page, right, that pixel data could somehow go away. But what is the number one thing that we're building all of this to do? Have conversations, right? So what if everyone who opts into our webinar gets an Instagram story ad that says, hey, I hope you enjoyed the training. By the way, it's sitting in your inbox, but if you follow me every single day, I'm going to give you a tip on how to do X, Y, and Z. So swipe up and follow me. Super important, right? It does one of two things. Because what did I say a while ago? We want to try to exploit as much pixel data as possible. What's going to happen when they follow us on Instagram? We can create that custom audience of people who have visited our Instagram profile or engaged with any post or any ad in the last 365 days. So boom, if pixel goes away, we still have Instagram traffic. A lot of people always say, Laurel, why do you only have like 1,500, I don't know, probably have like 1,800 followers on Instagram? I'm like, because I'm not trying to build my Instagram profile full of random people. Anyone who hits, and this will be relevant for people who might not have a webinar, but have a sales page, I'm using this same strategy. Anyone who's hitting my $7 a month program and not buying, boom, they're going to follow me on Instagram. I'm going to nurture the heck out of them, have conversations with people in the DM. Yep. So with Instagram ads, you don't need a certain amount of followers. Swipe up function comes with everyone who does Instagram ads. So I get them into, and you guys are going to learn the entire system. It starts with a story ad, and then there's 4 more ads in that sequence. So that's what you're going to learn in this program. We call it the reverse organic. We're using ads to get them organically, right? So we're going to have 1 touch point on Instagram. 2, they're going to have an ad sequence. We're going to feed them this webinar content, whether they want it or not. So our Fire for sequence is going to be content that's just broken up from your webinar here in a more personalized way. We're going to talk to, we're not going to show them slides and everything. And I'm going to get into why I don't really like a lot of slides. I like some slides, but we're not going to do a lot of slides. But these ads right here are not going to include any slides. And don't worry, we're going to go over this in depth when the time comes. But then also, I'm going to show you guys a really cool spider web email system. I really freaking love this because these emails are going to propel people to this, right? All of this is going to be built to do one thing. So if your goal is to get people onto the phone, everything that we do in the ecosystem is going to get people to fill out that application. If your goal is to get people to buy something off your webinar, all of this is going to be built to that. But then all of our marketing becomes easier, right? Because we're also going to put the spider, there's a spider web here. And there's a spider web here. That's going to make up the entire ecosystem. And then of course, when they hit here and they don't do action, right? Some of you guys are familiar with the hot 7. We're going to learn how to create content that is going to make up the entire ecosystem. We're going to get some organic stuff involved. We're going to do a lot of fun things with this, okay? Now, you know what I love about the ecosystem? So I'll tell you guys a little story. So earlier last year, I took on a client that was in one of my masterminds that I'm a part of, Nick Peterson. I talk about Nick Peterson all the time. He had a woman in his mastermind, and I was up there at the mastermind for the first time, and I was explaining my ad strategy. And I got home and she called me and was like, hey, can you take me on as a client? And I was like, okay. She was spending about $10,000 or $11,000 on ads on webinars. So she had a webinar to book a call. So she was spending $10,000 or $11,000 to get webinar opt-ins. Her sales each month varied from $50,000 to $60,000. Still good, right? Would you spend $10,000 or $11,000 to make 50 or 60? We implemented everything that I'm going to show you guys. Who wants to guess what I brought her ad spend down to and what I brought her monthly recurring revenue to using this same ecosystem? Anyone want to guess? Joy is very close. I brought down her ad spend to $5,700 a month. Her monthly to $120K. Why did that happen? And it's happened across the board with my clients. Why does that happen? Janet is very close. I added more touch points. Yes. How much do I always tell you guys that retargeting costs? Much lower, right? $2 a day. Lots of her ads. So it took her a while though, but here's what I want you guys to realize. That wasn't an overnight thing, right? Because she had already been running ads. So this was already full. So I saw opportunity. I didn't change anything that she was doing here other than lower her ad spend, because I saw the opportunity of all the people that were just falling through here, because the other agency was not doing any of this. They were just relying on this to send people through the funnel. So what she sells is infertility coaching. So she basically, her offer, and we're going to talk about offer here in a little bit. Her offer is the 3 secrets to IVF success. She went through 10 rounds of IVF success to have her kids. And she actually went to college for biology and all of that fun stuff. And so she put everything that she had into learning why she got such success with her own like training, and then it's turning around. And now her clients have a 99.6% success rate of going through her program and getting pregnant. So pretty cool thing. But I have another client who sells his CPA services. I actually have another client who has a brick and mortar infertility clinic. I actually have a client who is selling an informational product. I have a coach who's selling an organic strategy. Who else do I have? I have 5 clients. I have 5 ad clients. So it doesn't matter the niche. I'm servicing people with brick and mortar businesses, right? Tasha's got the online infertility. Chris Axelrad, he owns the Axelrad clinic in the Houston area. He owns a chain of clinics. We're doing the exact same thing here. So it doesn't matter whether you have a brick and mortar business, whether you have an online business, all of this is relevant. Like if you think about it, this is how our brands pretty much interact with us, right? Back in the day, remember back in the day before online advertising ever existed, you go to McDonald's and they'd say, put your business card in here for a chance to win something, right? opt-in, and then follow up, right? They get mailers, coupons, freebies, right? So we're not doing anything that is like new. We're just utilizing, because remember, the Facebook ad platform is just a tool that we're using to do an overall strategy. The tools are going to change, but I want you guys to understand, we're just going to be doing this to have more conversations with people. Like one of the things that we've been doing with the Fire 4, instead of sending them straight to the application, some of my clients right here in the Fire 4, we're just doing messenger ads to get them to in the DMs, and then they're moving them straight to the application. Touch points, right? That's what it's going to take over the next several months to actually move people. There's going to be more touch points. Some of my clients like to add text in here. We're going to explore all of those different options. And so that's what we're going to be doing. Are you guys excited over the next several weeks? We're going to be doing like a lot